Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to today's online class. The topic that we are going to treat today is crop improvements. This topic is divided into three. We have 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. But today we are going to treat that of 1 of 3. What is crop improvement? By definition, crop improvement means the way of developing and breeding of crop varieties which are better than the existing varieties in a number of characters. That is, if you have a varieties that are not having good characteristics and you observe that there are other crops that have better characteristics, so the two varieties can be improved upon so that we can have a better varieties. So, and this is done by crop breeders. On the screen you have examples of yellow maize and white maize seeds. The white maize seeds is the common one, but it has been improved upon to get yellow maize seed color. Now, look at the cassava on the screen. We have white fleshed cassava and yellow fleshed cassava. The common one is that of white cassava, but an improvement has been brought upon it to derive another varieties that is called yellow cassava. With this, there has been improvements in the nutritional value of it. That of yellow cassava have vitamin A due to crop improvement. What are the aims of crop improvement? The aims of crop improvement are the reasons why we carry out crop improvement practices. 1. To increase the yield of crops. 2. To improve produce quality. 3. To adapt to climatic conditions, because some crops are not adaptive to the climatic condition of a particular area. But when such crops are improved upon, they'll be able to adapt to such climatic conditions. Also, to increase resistance to pests and diseases. Some crops are being attacked by different pests and diseases, but once they are improved upon, they'll be able to resist such diseases. To meet growers' need, the growers have different things or characters that they look at in a varieties. So therefore, once their crop are improved upon, they will have better characters. 6. To improve harvesting qualities. There are some local varieties that when they are improved upon, once we are harvesting them, you will find it easier. To plant early maturing crops. There are some crops that delay in maturity, but once they are improved upon, they will mature earlier. To obtain uniformity of plants. Some plants grow tall while some grow short in the same plantation, but once they are improved upon, they will grow uniformly. To improve nutritional value, for example, if you have an orange that tastes sour, it can improve upon to taste better. To meet consumers' need, that is, the processors and the industrialists. For example, the company that produces juice, orange juice for example, would like to have such fruits that have less seeds. There are 3 processes of crop improvements. If you want to carry out crop improvements, You have to choose from any of these processes. A. Introduction. B. Selection. And C. Hybridization or breeding. The processes include, let us explain each of them one by one. Introduction. Introduction is the importation or introduction of some varieties of crops with desirable characteristics into areas where they are not existed before. Into areas where they have not existed before. For example, you can introduce crops from one state to another or from one country to another. For example, wheat crop has been introduced from the European country into Nigeria. Today or nowadays, wheat are now grown in the northern part of Nigeria as a result of introduction of such crop. Advantages of introduction. 1. It prevents pests and diseases. 2. It enables greater produce productivity, that is, to increase yield. It introduces new varieties of crops to a new area. It upgrades the quality of local varieties of crops. That is, if a particular crop is not doing well in terms of different characters, maybe the seed are too small or the plant is not growing earlier. So once improvement has been done upon it, it will be upgraded in terms of its characteristics. Disadvantages of introduction. 1 is the possibility of introducing new crop diseases and pests. The new crop may not be able to adapt to new environments. That is, if you introduce a particular crop from area A to area B, the new environment there may not favor it. 3. Introduced crop may not be able to adapt to new condition, the soil condition of new environments. B. Selection. Selection is the artificial picking of crops with desirable characteristics, which are most favored by the environment. Here, you select crops with desirable characteristics that suit a particular environment. There are two major types of selection. We have natural selection and artificial selection. In natural selection, the crop breed among themselves to produce a better variety that can do very well. This, no man interfere with that. It happens naturally. We have artificial selection. In artificial selection, here, man interference is in this. That is, when man deliberately breed crops in order to produce better varieties of crops. There are 4 methods of selection. Here we are talking about, in this 4 methods of selection, we are talking about the artificial selection. So it involves 4 methods. 1. Mass selection. 2. Pure line selection. 3. Pedigree selection. And 4. Progeny selection. In mass selection, crop plants are selected randomly within a plantation. in terms or based on their performance or merits. That is, you select crop or you reject the crops based on the performance, on their performance or merits. But in pure line selection, only one crop is deliberately selected because of its desirable characteristics. It leads to the concentration of the character, which will be pure and uniform. Number 3, pedigree selection. Here, crop plants are selected based on the performance of their ancestors, based on historical information that you have in how their ancestors perform. So you now choose to plant such plants so that you can continue having the characteristics possessed by the ancestors. Number 4, progeny selection. Here, crop plants are selected based on the performance of their offspring or progeny. Here, the crop breeder selects plants based on only the performance of the offspring. We have advantages and disadvantages of selection. One of the advantages of selection is that crop plants with desirable traits are selected. 2, seeds from best stands are multiplied for distribution. Once you observe that a particular plant is having desirable character, you select them, you multiply them, that is, grow them again and distribute the seeds for farmers to grow. 3, crops with undesirable characteristics are detected and rejected. That is, there is no reason for planting or for replanting the seed of a particular plant that is not having good characters. 4, it reduces the spread of pests and diseases. Disadvantages of selection. It is tedious and time consuming. It is expensive to practice because it involves a lot of money. 3, it requires expertise. It cannot be done by common man. This is the work of those that have the skill and knowledge of crop breeding. 4, elimination of some desirable characters of parent stock may occur. That is, one may end up losing or removing the characters that are desirable, that are possessed by the parent stock. Hybridization or breeding. This is the production of new offspring by crossing 2 different plant varieties of the same species. For example, within the maize species, we have different varieties. We have white varieties and yellow varieties. They can be breeded together to have another varieties. I'm going to show you some picture as we proceed for you to really understand the meaning of hybridization and as well inbreeding and crossbreeding. We have types of breeding: inbreeding and crossbreeding. Crossbreeding is also called outbreeding. Now, number 1, inbreeding. This is the pollination and fertilization of closely related crop plants in order to retain certain characteristics within a specific varieties. That is, the white maize variety can be improved upon using the method of inbreeding. That is, the pollen grain of the same plant will be used to pollinate the female part, that is the flower of that same plant, in order to produce seed. When this happens, it is called inbreeding. That is, the characters of such crop will be retained, and this leads to pure breed or pure line. Now, let us look at cross breeding. This is the pollination and fertilization of totally unrelated crop plants belonging to different varieties. This happens when you cross white maize and yellow maize together. They will produce the type of the varieties that will possess the characters of both varieties that were crossed, and this leads to heterosis or hybrid figure. Hybrid figure simply means that the offspring produced will have better chance to withstand climatic conditions and other things. That is, it will be better than the two-parent stock in number of characters. Here we have sample of white and yellow maize. Like I said, that in hybridization, that you can breed the white maize variety and yellow maize varieties to have another variety. Okay, and when that happens, this is what we are going to have. Okay, but here within the yellow maize, the pollen grain can also be used to pollinate same variety, being yellow maize again, in order to have a better, that is an inbred of such yellow maize that will retain the characteristics of the yellow maize in a better way. I want to use this diagram of maize plants to explain some certain things to you below. So listen, we have, look at these very maize plants. We have the parts as follows: central spike of tassel within the tassel. Okay, we have the hair, and the hair is the female, is the flower, and is the female part of the plant, while the tassel is the male part of the female flower of the plant. We also have silk on top of the hair, Now, the self-pollination that we are looking at here is a type of inbreeding. That is, if you look here now, the top part here is the central spike of the tassel, and here the pollen grains are contained in these parts. When the pollen grains falls and enters into the female flower through the silk of the plants, pollination has taken place, which will make fertilization to occur. And once this happens, the seeds of maize plants will begin to develop here. This is what we call inbreeding, and it is self-pollination. But on the other side here, when you have two plants, for example, you let one serve as the male plants like this, and let the other one serve as the female plant here. This is the hair of the plant, that is the flower, female flower, and this is the male flower that contains the pollen grain. And once the pollen grain is coming down to the female flower, cross-pollination has taken place, because the pollen grain coming to it will pollinate the flower, the female flower, and the fertilization will occur, thereby producing seeds. This is what we call cross-pollination, that is cross-breeding. Like I told you earlier, this very picture shows that crossbreeding has taken place here. The white maize variety and the yellow maize variety have been crossed to have a maize cob that possesses the color of the two maize varieties, that is white and yellow seeds on the same cob. This is as a result of cross breeding. Here we want to produce hybrid here. If you look at what we have here, we have cross two compatible inbreds. That is, if you have done an inbred and also another inbred, you now get the two seeds, you plant them. Now let one of the inbred serve as the male plant, and let the other one serve as the female plant. So now allow the male plant to pollinate that of the female plant. Cross-pollination has taken place, and this will lead to hybrid. That is, the offspring that will be better in number of characters compared to the parent stock. We have advantages of hybridization or breeding. 1. Production of superior offspring in crossbreeding, because two varieties were brought together and crossed. 2. Production of rapidly growing offspring. This happens in crossbreeding. 3. Offspring can withstand different environmental conditions in crossbreeding. 4. Production of pure line offspring, that is uniform crops in inbreeding. Disadvantages of hybridization as follows. 1. Sterile plant production. By sterile plant production, we mean that inability of plant flowers to produce seeds. That is, the crop breeder may end up not having seed produced by the plants. 2. Elimination of some desirable characteristics of parent stock may occur. When you are carrying out hybridization, when you are carrying out crop breeding, one may end up producing the type of the offspring that some desirable characteristics of the parent stock might be removed. 3. It requires expertise. It needs knowledge and skill of crop breeding. 4. It is expensive to practice. That is, it requires a lot of money. With this, we have come to the end of this class, this lecture. Assignment, we follow it. Check it and do and submit. Thank you for listening.